She's an innovator. He's a problem solver. And they don't rely solely on textbooks. They apply the science of generations of experience. Learn from grandparents who planted the seedlings, leaving a legacy for generations not yet imagined. They nurture nature and can only see the forest for the trees. This podcast series tells their story. Welcome to Forestry Uncut.
Three minutes early. I scan the coffee shop in downtown Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, my favorite Friday haunt, and a spot where I often meet friends and colleagues for what I like to call two coffee chats. You know, the kind of conversations that go over time and then just keep going and going because, well, there's just that much to talk about. So you inevitably need a second cup of something. Two coffee chats. Today, I'm meeting Stephen Moore. He and I have had dozens of face-to-face encounters over the last decade, most of the time when he worked in politics and when I was a news reporter. I scan the room. He's not here yet. So I slide into a booth and pull out my phone, reviewing the message he sent me. Erin, I've got an idea. I'd love to run it by you. That's all it said. Now, I know a few things about Stephen. The first is he's always working on something big. And he tends to be ahead of the curve in many ways. As a former political staffer, he's got this knack for understanding how big problems get solved at almost every level. Government, bureaucracy, and at the ground level too. And if I'm being honest, I'm not entirely sure what he wants to talk to me about. But my curiosity is piqued. A few minutes later...
Oh, we'll go here and get it?
Yeah. Stephen walks in.
Eat your breakfast.
This looks so good.
I told you, right? Good sandwich.
Very good.
Good sandwich.
In the last couple of years since I've seen Stephen, well, since the pandemic, really, he's taken on a new job.
Yep. Started October 2022.
And so far?
It's been a learning curve. It really has been. It's the first, I'd say, 90 days or so. We really I focused on getting out and talk to as many people as I could.
I lean in. Where's this going?
It's kind of wild, but we can make some pretty bold claims that are completely accurate when it comes to the environment. We're the only sector in Nova Scotia that takes more carbon to the environment than we put in. We're the only one who can say that. So that is a very, I think, remarkable claim.
I mean, if you had to guess what Stephen was talking about, the most sustainable sector, the green tech alignment, the renewable energy, clean energy. Honestly, what would you think we were talking about?
Electrification?
Nope.
Oil and gas?
Nope.
AI tech?
Nope.
Solar?
Nope.
Hydrogen?
Nope. Wrong on all counts. Stephen? He's talking about trees.
What?
He's talking about forestry.
Wow!
He's taken on the role of executive director at Forest Nova Scotia. He just sat across from me in my favorite coffee shop and told me that forestry, not wind, not oceans, not hydrogen, not electrification, is the one and only sector that removes more carbon from the atmosphere than it creates.
We are the greenest of all in Nova Scotia, and it's frustrating for a lot of people in the sector because they have not told that story for a very long time, and they've taken lumps. And I think that's something we've tried to right the ship with last year too.
I put down my sandwich, slurp my black coffee, and I lean in even more.
We are it, and we are really, I would say, probably most substantially so of any sector. Whether it's like green tech, whether it's renewable energy, like even those sectors, because of the materials that are used to create the products. And yes, the energy itself that's generated is clean, but the process to get to that is very not.
Here it is. Now I see it. The reason. The ask. The reason we'll need a second cup. Here's the mission.
Which is why this all needs a podcast.
Did you feel that very meta moment? That moment when you realize you're listening to the very podcast that we decided to do as a result of the coffee shop conversation I'm describing to you in this podcast that you are now listening to? Well, we can laugh, but listen, that's the mission here. To lay it bare and expose the raw facts, the information, the reality of forestry on the ground. Not from some flighty policy level, not from even really the government level, not from that place where it's so big we can't understand it or wrap our hands or arms or even our minds around it. If I do my job right with this mission, if I accept this mission as it's been given to me, we will have carved a clearer path to forestry as a solution for a lot of problems. And heck, maybe even mobilized some of those solutions into reality. And if Stephen and the forestry sector does its job,
if we're allowed to do our jobs, there's going to be far less pollution, and we're going to be probably one of the biggest industrial allies of climate change that can happen. I think that's a really compelling thing for us to tell people.
Compelling enough for another cup of coffee. Absolutely. But to be honest, I still have some serious questions if I am going to hitch my wagon to this horse. And I'm sure you do too. Because if I'm going to get into this, get right into the dirt, go deep with the forest, understand the opportunities, the limitations, frankly, understand how Stephen can confidently and constantly say that forestry can fix a bunch of gigantic problems facing humanity, then I know deep inside that I'm going to have to get more curious than I have ever been. Maybe in my whole life. I'm going to have to be really comfortable being a beginner in all of this and asking what might amount to be quite dumb questions. I mean, speaking of dumb questions, just off the top of my head, what about wildfires? Forest fires were raging almost all summer of 2023 in North America, including in Nova Scotia, where we saw complete devastation and hundreds of homes lost. So, if trees are so susceptible to natural disaster, how can they be the solution? Another dumb question. Trees, as far as I know, don't understand municipal, provincial, national borders. I mean, fires are the best way to explain this. Fires rage from province to province and across countries. So that begs the question, where do other countries stand on forestry? And how can we think globally and, I guess, act locally? And while we're on that, I'm pretty sure there's an abiding feeling that cutting down too many trees is a terrible idea. Aren't we supposed to just plant them and leave them to be these beautiful vestiges of divine creation? And what about those things that we all love? We don't admit it, but we love them. Amazon boxes, toilet paper, gas for the car, heat for the home. I mean, how does one make an Amazon box without first cutting down a tree? As I say this, I can hear Stephen's eyes rolling into the back of his head. What about speed? Because the way Stephen's talking, it's as if forestry can really fix some things rather quickly. But trees grow really slowly. And we need climate solutions like basically yesterday. I think we can all agree to that. So trees grow slowly. We need solutions quickly. How are trees the answer? I have so many questions. Stephen suggests, however, that speed is not actually a problem.
We are the housing fix. We're the green growth fix. We're the economic development, rural development fix. Like, we're the solution for all of these problems. And it's just we've got to kind of more effectively spread our roots so that people understand that. Prosperity in rural communities, we're the solution for that. You need jobs that can also fight climate change. Guess what? We're already doing that.
Okay, so I'm going to accept this mission. And if we're going to do this, we're going to mobilize and energize an industry as big as the forest. I need us to start with just one baseline assumption here. If all of this is going to work, you and I both need to assume that most people support the idea of forestry. Most people believe trees are good. And in fact, all the research points to this assumption being a fact. When surveyed, massive numbers of people admit they love trees and think forestry is pretty awesome. So if we can all agree on that one baseline assumption that trees are good, and so's forestry, then my promise here is to keep asking those questions so you and I can attempt to wrap our head around the challenges, the opportunities, and how forestry can, in its most raw form, be one of the best solutions to the biggest problem facing humanity today. Now, what Stephen's going to do, because I'll task him with this, is take us to the people doing the work. He's going to help us deepen the roots, so to say. Pun absolutely intended. Stephen's going to help us draw these connections between what's going on the ground with people in forestry, with people out in the forest, and then what's actually happening at the policy level to make sure that we're getting the most out of all that work. He is going to draw those connections that we naturally feel, but we may not really be aware of. And hey, if together we do this all right, then we'll have achieved the goal of this podcast, which is to get really real, raw, unfiltered, and I'm guessing a little unapologetic, because I'm sensing we've got no time to waste. Welcome to Forestry Uncut.
Forestry Uncut is a podcast series produced by Story Studio Network for Forest Nova Scotia, the largest, fastest-growing forestry organization in the province. Leave us a comment and a rating on the show, and be sure to share it with your network. You can follow Forest Nova Scotia on Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn. For more information about the work we do or becoming a member, visit our website at forestns.ca. Forestry Uncut is hosted and written by Erin Trafford. Our senior producer is Becky Coles. Jen Hudson is our field producer. Our editor and executive producer is Dave Trafford. I'm Mike Trutler.